Hi, Kelly here at Carcraft Auto Tech, and today we're going to lift a 2018 Toyota Tacoma. Today we're going to be using a Rancho 2.5-inch suspension system. It's a 100% bolt-on kit. Comes complete with quick lift struts, shocks, control arms, and of course all the hardware that you'll need to complete the job. Let's get it up and let's have a quick look. So let's lift up the vehicle here, and let's of course take off all the wheels all around the whole complete vehicle. Now that we have the vehicle lifted up and the wheels removed, we're going to want to remove the splash shields on both front and rear wells. You'll want to use a door panel clip removal tool or something of the sort to get behind there and just pop the clips off. Next, let's go ahead and remove the ABS sensor harness hold down brackets, the upper ball joint retaining pin and nut, and the sway bar end link nut as well. You're going to want to go ahead and do this on both sides at the same time. It will help. Once the lock pin is removed and the nut is loosened on the upper ball joint, you're going to need to strike the upper steering knuckle right where it meets the ball joint to free it up from the control arm. There is a flat bossed area there, so give it a few good whacks and it should just free up and come loose, and then you're good to go. Now we're going to remove the strut assembly. Remove the lower bolt and the 3 nuts retaining the upper strut. Make sure not to remove the center bolt, as that is the one that is holding the spring pressure. Once the bolt's removed and the nuts are released, you should be able to just pull the bottom out and lower it down and swing the top out at the exact same time. It helps here to have the sway bar undone on both sides and raised all the way to the top position. Now is where it gets a little bit tricky. Unfortunately, the upper control arm bolt is quite long and it needs to be completely removed in order to swap the upper control arm. So first, let's just go ahead and undo it. Once it's undone and slid out, you can see that it's going to want to contact the inner fender well, and of course that's the body and can't be removed. So what you'll need to do is get a crescent wrench or adjustable wrench and slightly bend away the body. Of course you're going to want to do this in a nice way, as it's the body of your vehicle and you don't want to damage too bad, but you will need as much room as you need, unfortunately. So once it's bent out of the way, you can see that I can slide the bolt upwards up into the engine bay. From the top side of the engine bay, you can see the bolt slid all the way back, and then from the rad support area you can see to the head of the bolt. On the driver's side there's considerably less room, and you'll probably need to shave off one side of the flange just to give yourself a little bit of extra clearance. Let's go ahead and assemble the upper control arm bushings. Straight out of the box, they did come quite lubed, but you know, we want to put a little bit extra silicone spray on there just to make sure that they're going in nice and smooth. As you can see that they're pushing in quite easily. I didn't have to really use the vise or the hammer, even though you can just see it on my bench there. The center metal retainer, those I did tap in, but they are going in quite smooth. Just to make sure that as you're going in that they're not binding or catching, and I'm sure they'll go press in quite easily for you. Now the control arms are ready to be installed. Unfortunately, this definitely does take 2 people. As you can see, there's washers on either side. So it is a little bit of messing around. It will take 2 people and a couple of pry bars just to sort of position it and slide the bolt in at the same time. Once you've managed to get the upper control arm bolt back in with all the washers and nut, of course, tighten it down and then reassemble the suspension on that side and tighten all those bolts down as well. Then we'll move on to the opposite side and do the exact same job. Here we go with the rear suspension. So let's go ahead and remove the shocks. It's quite simple, 1 bolt on the bottom and 1 nut on the top. go ahead and remove those both and slip the shock out of place. Now let's install the lift blocks. Go ahead and loosen one side of the U-bolts and completely remove the other side. Now if you're on the ground, be aware that of course the diff would be free if you undid both sides, and you don't want that to happen. So go ahead and support the differential in some way so it can't fall. As you can see, I got a lift jack under there, and I'm going to go ahead and completely remove one side, lower it down slightly, and then install the block, and then reinstall the new U-bolt in the kit. Once the block is in place, go ahead and raise it back up and align the alignment pin. It can take a little bit of fighting there to get it back in position, but once it is, go ahead and change the block on the other side and then torque your U-bolts down. Next is a couple of things that I found that weren't actually included in the kit that helped. Right here, this bracket should be rotated counterclockwise to take some tension off of it. And here you can see I added myself my own little spacer. I just found a new bolt and a little spacer and put that in there just to take a little bit of tension when it's hanging on the hoist. At the center of the vehicle, we're going to go ahead and install the drive shaft drop spacers. So go ahead and support the drive shaft, remove both the bolts, and then install the spacers with the new bolt and torque it all down. At the front of the vehicle, next we're going to want to install the front differential drop spacers. So remove the nut and bolt on both sides. Pry the bracket down slightly to create some space for the new spacer. Slip the spacer in between the frame and the bracket, then install the new nut and bolt supplied with the kit and torque those down. And we're pretty much done here. Let's go ahead and install the splash shield spacers on the front there. So there's 4 spacers and 4 new bolts. Go ahead and install those and tighten it down, and we're basically good to go.